What makes a leader effective beyond their technical skills? The answer to that question in general is emotional intelligence. So, I'm going to talk about emotional intelligence a little bit and some of the other pieces of things that are good for a leader to have beyond their technical skills. First one is authenticity. To me, this is huge. You need to be authentic with your employees, with your other team members, on your leadership team, maybe your vendors, your customers. Being authentic is showing them your true self. Also, with that is vulnerability. I learned early in my career that sometimes you have to do what I call fall on the sword. We've all done that as business owners. I remember years ago, I had a customer that we had a situation. So I owned a software company, and he thought the problem was the software, and I thought the problem was his personnel. So we had a disconnect there. And again, remember, this is early in my career. I stood my ground. Well, we went back and forth, and it really was not pleasant. And I lost that customer because I was not willing to fall on the sword to with him. And I learned that sometimes you need to, instead of standing your ground, you need to fall on the sword a little bit and have a discussion. Had we sat down and discussed why he felt that way and why I felt that way, maybe we could have come to a conclusion and I wouldn't have lost that customer. And an aside to that is, over the years, I've seen him as well on its social things, and it's fine. I wouldn't say that we're friends, but we're fine. We talk and everything's good. But then over the years, and I've had, as we all do as business owners, had different things come up. And even though I felt very strongly about, what I felt the scenario was, I had to step forward and say and be authentic and say, what really do you think is going on here, and how can we resolve that together? And I think that the authenticity of that made a huge difference. So being a leader, authenticity is huge. Also, curiosity and willingness to learn. So I'm a lifelong learner. I love to learn new things. It excites me to learn and do new things. And I think that's a sign of a good leader, because you don't want your business to stagnate. You don't want your employees to feel like that you're stagnated and that you're not going anywhere. So you need to have that willingness to learn and to maybe analyze some of your current processes and change them, and be curious about what that looks like. Maybe curiosity is looking how someone else is doing, another business is doing it, and adapting part of that to yours. Another piece for good leaders is empathy. And empathy is different than sympathy. When you're sympathetic, it's like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that happened. But empathy is more, a little deeper than that, of, I am so sorry that's happened to you. I feel your pain in that. I've experienced something similar to that, or, a friend has, or my brother has, whatever it is. And going back to authenticity, of being very open about how you feel. So it's a little bit deeper than sympathy in that scenario too. Then also persistence and resilience. And resilience is huge. In business, things happen. We have different things that happen in business, either things you can control or things you can't, the economy, COVID, things like that. And you have to be resilient and be able to pivot and to understand what's happening in the situation and figure out, how am I going to adapt to that, all the while thinking about your team, your business, your team members, your, any kind of out, maybe your customers, maybe your vendors, things like that. So that resilience and persistence is a huge piece of leadership too. Then, of course, we all know a good leader has vision and is mission driven. So that vision of the whole picture is a good leader. So you'll have people who are like myself, business owner, and I had a vision for the entire business. Then you may have people who are at a leadership level and they have a vision for their area that they're in, but they need a vision at least for that area and be able to understand and communicate that vision as well. So the vision may not always be the whole vision because that's a different skill set, maybe than some of the leaders that are, I hate to say in the middle, but not at the top end like a business owner um, with that. Also, and the last point I have is communication and feedback. Communication is huge. I think every video I have talks about communication and how important that is. So, you know, people, when I say communication, they're kind of like, well, exactly what does that mean? And that usually tells me that they don't have good communication skills. But what does that mean? That means that, I'm always, as a leader, um, saying, this is our vision, this is where we're going. Whoops, something happened. Now we're going to stop for a second and we're going to pivot. But all that communication is important. What I realized over the years is if you don't communicate it, they make up their own narrative. People that work for you make up their own narrative. And you don't want that. You want to make sure that you are setting that vision and you are setting that course for the people that you work with. And communication is the biggest part of that. Communication can be verbal, it can be written, it could be emailed, it could be text, and also be open to feedback from that communication. So there were plenty of times that I communicated something and maybe I just didn't have the whole view of it. And someone, again, authenticity, they felt comfortable coming to me and saying, I get where you're coming from, but that's not really how it is. And this is different than what you're saying it is. Well, and I'd say, maybe I just didn't know. Maybe I didn't communicate enough before my communication to the whole company. And then I had to roll that back, which is fine. Feedback is great. If you are an authentic leader, people will give you honest feedback. And they will honestly give you feedback if they feel like you are going to take that to heart. So that's just a few things that I've seen, the important things. There's lots of things with leadership, but those are the most important things on being a leader. I owned a business for 31 years and I didn't do everything right. There were things in here that I didn't do in the beginning that I learned, and I learned the hard way, as we always do. So I hope this has helped you to understand the leadership and what that entails, and helping your emerging leaders as you think about your business succession as well. So check out my course on business succession. I also have emotional intelligence classes that I will put in links in that you can check out as well. So thanks a lot, and I'll see you soon.